had an idea a little while ago to create a Doom mod where all of the creatures are terrified that Doomguy is coming to get them, and it's your job as a psychiatrist to go around each of them and talk to them and see if you can convince them to fight with you. By default, the creatures are petrified and they're refusing to fight. So once Doomguy does come through, they're not going to fight back. He's just going to massacre all of them. I'm running this with a large language model, and it's linked through to Zandronum that's running the Doom, but I'll cover that later in the video. Each of the classes of creatures has their own file with their own responses. So the imp, for example, should know that it is an imp, and the shotgunner and the former human, they should know which weapons they have and what they are, although when you ask them that, sometimes they go a bit off the rails. So each time that you speak, you use the in-game chat, and I've got a script which picks up any of the messages sent through to the in-game chat. So actually, technically, this could work for multiplayer as well. You could have a multiplayer server with a chatbot that's responding to people on it. But anyway, you type the message, that goes through to the database stored by Zandronum, and then the Python script is checking that database for any changes. Once it sees a message being passed through, it'll also pick up the ID number of the creature that's sent that message. It'll then respond to that message, and then that'll pass the message back through to Zandronum so that it can display it on the screen so that you can read the chat. It'll also save the logs through to a HTML file which is in the folder, which has been really useful for debugging. So by default, the creatures are just cowering, but if you speak to them and manage to convince them, then they'll take up arms and fight against Doomguy with you. The way that I can tell that they have agreed to join, each time you type a message, it gets passed through to the language model, which will respond with the creature's response, and then I then take that creature's response, pass it back through to the language model, and ask it to clarify whether it believes that that is a creature agreeing to join up or not. You can see the yes and no which appear up on the top of the screen there. That's the second that's the verification check going through. Generally, the responses from the language model are pretty good. They're sufficient for what I want it for here, and you can have good little conversations with them. Occasionally, when you start talking to them for the first time, they'll just go completely off the rails, and I have a key that I can click that will just reset that chart. Each of the creatures within the map have their own unique ID, and they have their own unique chat. So if you speak to the same person again, it'll continue from where you're up to. But then also each of the classes of the creatures has their different types as well. So sometimes you can just be going nowhere with one creature and you just speak to another and get it. Generally, they're pretty tricky to convince. Telling them that they'll become king and that I can promise them that they'll be safe, it works pretty well, but sometimes they'll call you out on it and say that you're trying to trick them. Another way that I've found to be quite successful is to tell them that you're going to hide all of Doomguy's ammunition before he can get to it. That way they won't be able to shoot him. Talking about defense in numbers and how you've already convinced 100 people to join you, for example, and also the really good one that works quite often is to tell them that you saw that Doomguy only has 1% health left and they can give that final killing blow, and also they can hide behind a pillar and do it. I also like to tell the zombies that they'll be able to eat Doomguy's brain afterwards, which sometimes they are really into and sometimes they get really confused about until I remind them that they are actually zombies. Sometimes convincing the creatures is really easy, and other times it can be frustratingly difficult. I think the weakest point in the setup is the validator, so it should be responding either success or fail, but sometimes it just whitters on its own. I've only just started learning about how to use these language models, so I'm sure a lot of that can be improved with the setup. So I'm going to give a few more tries to convincing this guy, and then I'm going to see if I can get somewhere further up the map. Once Doomguy breaks through the first door, he'll get rid of these guys in no time. The game timer could do with being increased. Currently it's only set to 5 minutes, but that doesn't really give you long enough to be able to convince everyone. However, it makes it a lot easier to record a video for this, but it's just a setting to change that. Doomguy could probably, if you're going to be playing it over a longer period. Doomguy could probably also do with travelling a bit into some of the more secret areas, but one of the issues that I had with that is he'll sometimes the pathfinding will sometimes break on it, and it ends up ruining the video. So I have played it with a longer route for him to take. And that could probably be overwritten if I update it, or if I put some more logic in for that. This is actually running in Doom 2 because I wanted Doomguy to have a double barrel shotgun, but this is the map from the start of Doom 1. I've not edited the map much apart from opening a couple of doors in advance, and I've edited the creatures slightly so that I can control them in this way, so they can click use on them. By default their animations run fast because I wanted them to be kind of quivering, and they're just stuck in place. Once a creature is convinced, then the speed is upped and it's set to aggro on Doomguy. I've got no idea what this guy was talking about, but there we go. Some of the things they come out with can be pretty weird, but unfortunately this guy got shot before I could find out more. Continuing from here, we're on the home straight for Doomguy now. He's just got to get through the next room. So the way that this map finishes is when Doomguy gets to the button at the end. That's the normal place that you would click to end the level, and Doomguy just has to get there before the game finishes. I set up some of the doors, like the secret door at the side and the platform that comes down, so that it's easier for the pathfinding, as I was having some issues with that. This guy was being a real nightmare. I just wanted one more example of someone being turned so that I could show him a video, but he was having none of it. So yeah, this is a pretty rough first draft, but I think it works pretty well. It's quite fun playing it, and I'm really interested in just using AI in Doom anyway. So I've done a mod recently for recreating an old club that I used to go to when I was younger, and for that I had lots of NPCs in the club, and each of them had their chat pre-done through ChatGPT with like branching paths so that you could speak through them. But yeah, this is a whole other level, being able to just speak out, especially to something that's just running straight on the computer. So now looking at it, this is what I see on my other monitors. So up on the top left, that's the output from Oobabooga, and that's with the verbose mode on, so you can see exactly what's being passed in and out. And then the script below it, that's my script that's running in between. So as you send a message, that message gets saved to the Zandronum database that's running, and then the Python script will regularly poll that database. Whenever it sees a message coming through, it passes that on to the Oobabooga, which responds with the response message, and then that's tagged with the reference for the character that it's talking about and passed back through to Doom. Then in Doom it will display that message, but it also, as I said earlier, it passes that message also through to the validator to get the confirmation as to whether that chat has worked or not. I can also send a / as a message, and that'll force it to reset the chat that it's currently on, and if I send a full stop, it will just redo that last chat message. And yeah, that's where I'm up to so far. So it could easily be adapted to have the other creatures, so talking to cyber demons, etc. You just got to set up a profile within Oobabooga, and then that's referenced within the chat when it talks through to it. I have a script within the game that will make a list of all of the different creatures that are in it to make it easier to configure that in my Python. So there's a bunch of areas that could be improved, but it was a fun project to work on. I've learnt a lot. And it's fun to gaslight or cajole these little guys into helping you, or just listen to the gibberish that they spout. And finally, here are my settings in Oobabooga. So it's using OpenHermes 2.5 Mistral 7B Q3K_S. And in there you've got the characters created. So I've got one for the imp, one for the former human, another one for the shotgun guy, and then finally here's my validator one here. So that's the one that you would send the output message to, and it should respond success. Apologies if I'm completely butchering how to do this. As I say, it's my first time trying any of this, but I'm very much open for suggestions. And that's pretty much it. So hope you like it. Thanks.